Now, welcome to this edition of the Morning Call. Much focus at the Ecowas summit held in Monrovia, Liberia, had been on Morocco's petition to rejoin the West African body as a full member. However, political circumstances, including a non-African leader, that is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, being invited, spun into motion conversations of controversy, while at the same time electing a new chair for the body to replace Liberia's President, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Jerusalem, at the end of the summit, confirmed they signed a financial MOU to advance power energy projects across 15 Ecowas member states. Take a look at this report we compiled.
West African leaders at the just-ended summit have elected Togolese President Faure Gnassingbé as Ecowas chair. He takes over from Liberian President Ellen Sirleaf. The leaders hailed peacekeeping efforts in the region, but warned of threats to stability. Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf praised the contribution of ECOWAS forces in restoring peace to her country.
Our organization continues its mission of promoting peace, even as it faces challenges linked to the spread of terrorism. Terroristic attacks are engendering instability in a number of our member states, and we know that terrorism constitutes a growing threat for all of us.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu offered partnerships and asked leaders to reinstate Israel's observer status in the African Union.
I saw young African entrepreneurs who are building companies harnessing the power of the digital age. Africans are seizing the future. Israel wants to seize this future with you. You truly have no better partner for this mission than Israel.
Israel ended a diplomatic rift to Senegal over Dakar's support of a UN Security Council resolution against Israeli settlements after the meeting.
The day was marked by the absence of King Mohammed VI, who officially cancelled his trip at the last minute due to the presence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said, and I quote, "Israel is back in Africa and Africa is back in Israel. I hope that we will succeed in implementing two very important agreements to deepen our cooperation," recalling that Israel is opening two new trade missions, one in West Africa and the other in East Africa. The other highlight of this summit was the appointment of the successor of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf at the head of the entity, that of Faure Gnassingbé, Togolese president, who has called for more integration and further encouraged more economic mobility in West Africa. And one of the decisions of this summit is to build a highway between Abidjan and Dakar.
Now, to help us understand this better with Hanan here in studio and spot more on what went on at the summit, we're being joined by Emmanuel Bensi Jr., a regional integration policy analyst in Accra, Ghana. Now, good morning, Emmanuel. Welcome to the program. Just Faure Gnassingbé is ECOWAS's new chair. What do you make of this?
I believe so. I mean, Gnassingbé has done a number of important things for his country. Last year, in October, he successfully hosted the first ever AU summit on the blue economy, and which has been a very important discussion that needs to be had on how we can raise revenue from our seas and our oceans. And that's even at a continental level. But critically for the region, I suspect that it's a kind of payback for his efforts on coordinating the Ebola crisis. And then there was a summit earlier, I believe it was around April, in which there was a review of discussions around Ebola on the way forward. And there was a lot of praise heaped on Togo for its efforts. So I think that, first of all, it's always going to be a Francophone country that would have followed after Sirleaf. And they looked around and they realized that, well, I think Gnassingbé has done a pretty good job for his country. So let's give it to him.
Now, Emmanuel, the Moroccan king did not attend the summit because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was there. But the application to be a member of ECOWAS is still on the table. Was that considered at all?
Well, it's strangely enough, there hasn't been any indication online or otherwise to suggest that Morocco will be admitted. Even though Morocco has done very well with the diplomatic charm offensive of going around saying there are some other West African countries, specifically Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and even countries like Senegal and so on, they're in support. But I think at the end of the day, I think ECOWAS Commission President Marcel de Souza, in an interview a couple of months ago, he clearly stated the reasons why it may probably be a good idea for Morocco to remain an observer of ECOWAS. There's the issue of geography, plus the fact that Morocco has its own Arab Maghreb Union, and it raises questions of why it would want to leave the Arab Maghreb Union. But we also know that Morocco, a couple of days ago, launched a pipeline which would allow countries like Nigeria, Burkina Faso, even Ghana to benefit from the oil. And I feel that those are some of the reasons why Morocco wants to join. But I think ECOWAS leaders are too smart to allow things like pipelines to compel them to allow a North African country to join.
Now, Emmanuel Netanyahu made history as the first sitting Israeli prime minister to visit 5 African countries early in the year. And now they have an interest, they have a vested interest in West Africa. What is really Israel's main interest with the ECOWAS countries?
Israel has a lot of money, resources. We all know that. It's more concerned about reach and also renewing its foreign policy. We know that it told East African countries last year, and it's going to be in Togo in October. But it's not going to choose membership. It's going to choose more strategic relationship, as demonstrated by, this grant of $1 million for solar energy. I think partnerships like that are useful. It's a win-win situation for both parties. And I think West Africa has always been an important source of, let's put it this way, revenue, and an important place for investment for a number of companies, and even more so with what they see with West Africa's efforts to want to democratize the sub-region. Because I think it's ample environment for Israel to decide to invest some of its technologies and some of its competencies.